is the Chris Abraham Show.
Hey, this is Chris Abraham, The Chris Abraham Show, Season 6, Episode 7. This is all about slow jogging and slow strength and slow strong and slowness and how excited I am that I finally... What? Good morning. That I've finally returned to actually doing slow jogging and not just being a Reddit mod of the slow jogging subreddit and not just talking about it and dreaming about it and obsessing about it and dramatizing about it and blogging about it and podcasting about it, but actually just bopping along. And I'll tell you all about it in a second. Years ago, I used to run like literally 13 to 15 minute miles, which I consider running. Every day, 4 miles every day, like 8 or 10 miles on the weekends. And then when I was dating Betsy a few years ago, I took up what I called running, but turns out to be slow jogging. And I became obsessed with it. For whatever reason, I got out of the habit and ballooned up to, not only did I balloon up to 350, but I had a terrible heart failure event and have felt extremely fragile ever since. Like I've done everything but jogging. And now that I've lost 50 pounds, I realized that I had run like 4, 5, 6 miles in a row at 300 pounds back when I was dating Betsy. So this has got to be completely mental. And I realized it was like I tell everybody, I felt like a giant bowling ball atop like stick legs en pointe on point shoes, on toe shoes, like I'm some sort of ballet, like 600-pound ballet dancer, like some sort of comic strip where a giant fat ballet dancer is bopping along the stage in toe shoes. And I felt completely insecure about it. When I even started, I just would frustrate. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 weekends ago at Park Run where I saw that some tail walker people were waiting for me. And I just like launched myself into this, what turns out to be a 20-minute pace. But it was off-road-ish. It was on gravel-ish. It was on my Roosevelt Island Park Run trail-ish. And I'm like, this is completely mental. And not mental as in Lolo or crazy, but mental as in a mental block. I was mentally blocked from doing it. So, starting 2 days ago, starting on the 17th, I just started bopping everywhere instead of walking. And by bopping, I mean very slow jogging. I mean 2.98 miles per hour jogging, where when I pass someone, it's sort of like a Vespa trying to pass a car. Like I can pass, but it's almost absurd how long I am watching the person as I run walk next to me as if we're walking the same speed, because most humans walk at around 3 miles per hour. So let me explain my life for those of you who don't know. I was so afraid of dying and so afraid of living back in 2017 that I got rid of my car and my motorcycle because I knew that if I had motors in my world, I wouldn't walk. For a while there, what it did is it made me stay at home all the time instead of get out into the world. So I instead took up a rucking life and a rucking life for my fucking life. and would walk out in any kind of weather with my office on my back and generally end up at first at cafes and then at libraries. And it's worked out really well. Sometimes I'd put 30-pound plates in my backpack, sometimes not. Sometimes I would bicycle my Surly steamroller to get a little bit farther afield. And it went swimmingly. But yeah, so basically, the distance that I walk every day organically is only about a mile and a half, 2 miles, 2 linear miles. So what I've done the last 2 days is I'm not doing it now. I'm walking because I want to do this podcast, but I'll make up for the distance. Thanks a lot, backing up truck. I wonder if this is going to interrupt or whether the Adobe sound cleaner is going to scrub the backup beeping of this garbage truck. Anyway, so generally speaking, I walk from my apartment to a cafe or to about a half a mile, and then another half a mile to another place, and then another half a mile to another place. Each one takes about 10-15 minutes. So for now, I'm just bopping along at a 20-minute pace for about 10 minutes at a time, and replacing all of my walking with slow jogging. Now, that makes me happy, and apparently it makes everybody around me happy, because people, when they see me do it, are completely amused. And even though one might say that running is bad for your joints, or running is bad for you, or you're going so slow you might as well just walk, I gotta tell you, this slow jogging activates my quads much more. And because I'm pumping my arms, it's activating my upper body and my arms, and it's bringing up a little bit more. Because when I walk, I don't walk fast. It's making me like breathe more, and it moves me to more of a performance heart rate and a more active heart rate. It activates me as someone who's moving kinetically through the world, as opposed to just moseying through the world. It takes me to the next level of movement, something that I can build upon. And because about 70% of all my slow jogging is on my forefoot, it really doesn't compromise my knees or my joints at all. Sometimes when I'm going up hills, I'll find that I'll extend my legs out and land on my heels. But in general, I find myself very much padding along as if you are in a big, old, creaky house, and you're a little kid, and you're trying to walk around the house without your mom and dad knowing. So it's sort of like, tiptoeing around at what is it called? At 2.98 miles per hour. It's extremely slow and extremely sustainable, and I hope over time I will be able to do this little performative bop with no desire of going faster ever. But what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to do this for 1, 2, or 3 hours, not walk, bop, walk, but just bop along for a possibly infinity amount of time. I would love to, on a Saturday, get onto the road at 7 and end up at a cafe for breakfast at 10 and just like bopping around, not caring much about distance or about heart rate or zone or anything else like that. So on that note, I will be back to you in a second. I need to pick up my breakfast. Hey, I'm back. One last thing before I go. After having that big belly of food, I had about, third of a mile to go. And I just sucked it up and I slow jogged it. And my heart rate got up to 115, which is pretty low. And it felt great. And if I had had that much food and ran, I'd probably projectile vomit. So it is sustainable. You don't need to wait half an hour after you eat. You know what I mean? It's very, very low intensity. Also, the difference between this and walking is because it's sort of like rebounding, which is apparently the word for using those little trampolines to work out. You know how even though those trampolines called rebounders are really gentle on the limbs, you still have a daily struggle, a daily fight with gravity, right? You move up and down. You move up and down as opposed to walking, which is just forward. You bounce, your fat jiggles, your head moves, your shoulders move. I believe that slow jogging is more of a full body struggle for the body, even though it's very low impact and very low intensity. I believe that when the body knows that it's going to be under the kind of stress that includes some sort of fleeing, running, jogging, slow jogging, shuffling, zombie shuffling, whatever, I believe the entire body tries to become more efficient in order to endure that extra trauma, lowercase t trauma, that extra challenge. And as a result, the body, my belief, and this is a holistic thing, I believe that the body transforms itself to adapt better to that kind of movement. I feel like the body might say, okay, well, if we're going to be doing this is too much freaking weight. Like if this is the kind of crap that Chris is going to do to me, I need to get a lot lighter than this, because my systems are at maximum stress. Like, Captain, the ship can't handle anymore. Captain. Anyway, so my belief is that and to be honest, I can feel the muscles today. I can feel the trauma yesterday from I can feel the soreness from the last 2 days of slow jogging today. And it's in muscles that I never use for walking. It's in the groin muscles, the quads, the inner thighs. It's just an entirely different exercise that while on some days I'm going to throw on my 24 kilogram pack and I'm going to deal with that kind of weight and that kind of challenge, on the days, which is basically every day, when I just bop along, it is going to challenge my body in a way that it hasn't remotely normalized, right? So like I said, I will not have found it perfectly successful as an experiment until I can, like this, like the new solar-powered Garmin watches. If you set up the Garmin just right, and if you're in the sun a lot, you can have infinity battery. Well, I want to be able to figure out a way to make infinity slow jog. So I could, like I said, if I wanted to slow jog for 3 hours, I can. Once I'm there, I will be like, okay, I am a slow jogger. Like that's part of my skill sets. And then maybe I'll try to add power 10s where I do, 20 minutes of slow jogging and then, up the speed to 16-minute mile, 13-minute mile, 12-minute mile, 11-minute mile for 30 seconds or a minute or for, quarter mile or whatever. And then I can start building up like that. But I choose slow jogging above the Galloway run, walk, run method. I just want to focus wholly on this bebopping. And according to the theory of Tanaka from Slow Jogging book, the Niko Niko Pace can become quick. It can become quick. And slow jogging is like between 3 and 5 miles per hour. I'm at 2.96, which means I'm slow jogging if you round up. But you can still be a slow jogger if you have a pretty good pace, as long as that pace is sort of like this Maffetone heart rate training where even at your marathon pace, where you might take 3.5 hours for the marathon, which I'd be perfectly happy with, you still have your heart rate within zone 1 instead of, burning at 160 beats per minute the entire time. So in that situation, you would be doing the entire marathon at a marathon pace, but because you could have a nice conversation, because you have a nice smile on your face, and because you're enjoying the marathon, it's still considered slow jogging. It's still considered Niko Niko, and it's still considered, if you will, the Maffetone Method, the MAF of heart rate training, which is in fact called low heart rate training, low heart rate training. Anyway, I really hope that this made sense, because sometimes I don't know if I'm talking to anybody or if I'm just venting my, what is it called? I'm lancing boils. Maybe this entire audio podcast is Chris Abraham lancing boils. And I think that Lance Boyle is a terrible spy name. Anyway, guys, love you. This is Season 6, Episode 7 of The Chris Abraham Show, formerly known as Chris Cast. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to The Chris Abraham Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time.